Throughout your life, there will have been times, and for some guys it will be thousands of times, but for other guys maybe hundreds of times, where a woman has liked you and you didn't even know it. In her mind, she was looking at you as a yes or a maybe. Right? So it may have been an instant yes where she's like, oh, I like that guy. Or it might have been a maybe of like, not sure, but okay, kind of like him. But from your side, you were either looking for really obvious signs that she liked you, or you were assuming that she already had a boyfriend, or you didn't know what to say or do to start an interaction with her, so you didn't do it. Or you may have worried that you might get rejected and be humiliated in front of a lot of people. And as a result, you didn't do anything about it, and the opportunity slipped through your fingers. But in the woman's mind, you were a yes or a maybe. And the way that it works with women is that you have to take the risk to give yourself a chance. Or as the old saying goes, you got to risk it to get the biscuit. It's sort of like when you're going to apply for a job. Are you going to get the job? Will they like your resume? Will they like you? Are you going to get the part? There is that uncertainty there. But because you need to earn a living, you've got to go and apply for that job, right? You've got to take the risk to apply for it and see if you can get it. And guys who don't apply for the job, they don't get the job. But some of the guys who apply for the job, if there are multiple positions available, they will get a position. But not every guy will. And when it comes to women, it's not about applying for a job, right? Applying for the job of being her boyfriend or lover. But essentially, you're giving yourself the chance. You're taking the risk, even though there's a possibility that it could be a no. You're either going to get a result with her or not. There's a risk there. You could get a no. You could get a sorry, I have a boyfriend. You could start talking to her and run out of things to say and then leave the interaction. But in 99% of cases, you're not going to get humiliated in front of everyone else unless you feel like it's humiliating to attempt to talk to a woman that you find attractive and attempt to get her number, and then you don't get it. That's humiliating for you. If you feel like that, then okay, it's going to be humiliating for you. But for a guy who is confident, he's not going to look at it as being humiliating if he walks up and talks to a woman and doesn't end up getting her number. Instead, he felt attracted to her and he attempted to shoot his shot. And look, she may have been dating another guy at the moment, or maybe they're just not compatible, or maybe she has a boyfriend and it's not the end of the world for him. So he goes on with his life and then he does it again and he talks to another woman and he gets a result with her. Just like if a guy is trying to get himself a job and he applies for a job and doesn't get it, if he just gives up then and says, jobs don't like me, I can never get a job, I'm going to be unemployed forever, then that's the reality he's creating for himself. He thinks that he's never going to be able to get a job, it's impossible for him, he's going to remain unemployed. Right? And the same thing applies with women. Sometimes a guy will attempt to talk to a woman that he finds attractive and not get a result, and he'll think then that women just don't like him and it's going to be impossible for him to get himself a lover or girlfriend or even a wife. But he's not going to be able to do it because he tried talking to a girl that he found attractive and he didn't get a result with her. And that may be because he doesn't know what to say or do to make women feel attracted. It may be that he came across as too nervous and unsure of himself. It may be that she had a boyfriend or she was seeing someone and so on. But he can either see that as the end of the world for him or not as the end of the world, and understand that there are going to be many women who like him and are thinking yes when they see him and they have a bit of an interaction with him. Other women are thinking maybe. But the problem is that most women won't make it very obvious that they like the guy. And other women will show signs that they like the guy, but he won't see it as a definite sign that she likes him. For example, a guy who is confident and is a natural with women will see the sign of a woman continuing to talk to him as they talk as meaning that she likes him. But a guy who doubts himself will see it as she's just talking to me. If a confident guy catches a woman looking at him when he's not looking, when he's looking away, and he notices that she gives him those sort of sneaky glances, he'll see that as a sign that she likes him. And he'll talk to her and he'll move things forward. But a guy who isn't confident, a guy who's waiting for very obvious signs from a woman, or essentially a woman to say that she likes him and she wants something to happen, will question it. Why is she looking at me like that? She could just be looking at me. She could just look at other guys like that. She might think I'm weird looking, or maybe she's just looking around the room, or maybe she's just curious. Maybe she's just looking at me and thinking something, and maybe it doesn't mean anything. And the reality is that if a woman is looking at you when you're not looking, it doesn't always mean that she wants to sleep with you, but it can mean that. So what's the better thing to think? Is it better to doubt yourself and think that you're a no in her mind and you have no chance? Or is it better to think that you're a yes or a maybe? It's much better to think that you're a yes or a maybe. And if you're a maybe, all you've got to do is make her feel more attracted. But if you're a yes, all she's waiting for you to do is walk over and talk to her, have a bit of a chat, and shoot your shot, right? Ask for her phone number, or if it's a party situation, get her to sit on a sofa with you, and eventually you put your arm around her, you start making out with her, or maybe you ask her to come back to your place and hang out, whatever it may be. Or you set up a date, or you start texting her and then you set up a meetup. Essentially, if you're a yes in her mind, then she is wanting you to shoot your shot. But if you're a maybe, she's wanting you to interact with her and make her feel some more attraction before you become a yes. Yet what happens if you're a no in her mind? What happens then? Well, a no in a woman's mind is not always a definite, permanent thing about a guy. It can be for some women where it's absolutely no. It's permanent. But for many women, it can initially be a no. They look at a guy, they don't find him attractive, but then he starts interacting with her and she feels sparks for him and she actually starts to like him and she finds him attractive. And then she opens up and it becomes a yes for her. She's waiting for him to shoot his shot. Or if he's not very good at making her feel attracted, she's still a maybe and she's hoping that he can create more sparks and turn that maybe into a yes. But as I said initially at the start of this video, the reality is that throughout your life, there will have been women who did actually like you and you didn't know it. And you had a chance with them, and this will continue to happen for you, by the way. You'll have chances with women, and if you are going through your life waiting for very obvious signals from women, or if you're just assuming that every woman who looks good already has a boyfriend, or that you couldn't possibly make her feel attracted, or you're going to get rejected and humiliated, or if you don't know what to say or do, then you're going to continue to lose opportunities with women that you find attractive. And for some guys, as they continue on in their life with that type of predicament, that type of situation, they eventually start to believe that they're not good looking enough for women, or that it's too difficult to get a woman, even though the opportunities are right there in front of them and they're only a 2-minute or 3-minute conversation away in most cases. In most cases, it doesn't take a lot of time to talk to a woman, create some sparks and get her number, and then start texting her and set up a meetup. It doesn't take a lot of time at all. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that you should only talk to a woman for 2 or 3 minutes. You can talk to her for 20 minutes, an hour. You can continue on the interaction and end up kissing her and taking her home, or hanging out at your place or her place, and then one thing leads to another. But in most cases, if a woman sees you as a yes already, then a few minutes of talking is enough. But if she sees you as a maybe, then sometimes it'll take about 10, 15 minutes of building up some attraction if you're not good at making women feel attracted. But if you're good at making women feel attracted, it only takes a few minutes. However, if you're a no, it usually takes a little bit more. But once again, it really depends on how good you are at making women feel attracted. For example, sometimes a woman will look at a guy and he will be a no based on his physical appearance. She just won't feel much attraction for his physical appearance. But when he starts talking to her, then he'll turn into a maybe and then a yes. And if he's very good at attracting women, that can happen within 3 to 5 minutes, where she goes from a no to a maybe to a yes, and she completely opens up. And the guy then just needs to shoot his shot. So the thing is, throughout your life, there will have been women who saw you as a maybe or a yes. And what you need to understand is that will continue to happen. But what won't happen is that women suddenly change and start walking up and hitting on you and trying to ask you out. Pretty much every woman out there is passive when it comes to men, meaning that they wait for a man to walk up and start talking to them and shoot his shot. It's the same with when it comes to a dance. Women wait for a man to ask them to dance. Women get led in the dance. It's the same thing when it comes to a phone number. Women wait for a man to ask for their phone number. Women wait to be asked out on a date, and so on. And some guys get frustrated by that and they think that women should start shooting their shot and going around approaching men, but they often forget that men's attraction to women works differently, in that if a woman goes around talking to men and showing interest, most men will sleep with her. Because a lot of men, maybe this doesn't apply to you, but a lot of men, as you may have heard the old phrases that float around, like he'll bang anything that breathes, or he'll do anything with 2 legs, or anything with a pulse, right? There are a lot of men like that out there, but maybe for you, you have some more standards. And if the woman is decent or attractive, in most cases, if you're like most men, you will happily sleep with her. Why not? And that's not a good strategy for women to get themselves a guy that they actually want to be with. Because if they go around approaching men and shooting their shot, they will end up getting with men who only feel confident because the woman came over and talked to them first. But then in a relationship, he becomes insecure. A woman will also end up getting with men who don't really like her, but just wanted to see her boobs, just wanted to get her boobs out, just wanted to be able to have sex with her. Even if it's just once or twice, why not? Those are some of the reasons why women are passive, and they'll continue to be passive. But another reason why women will continue to be passive is that they want to be able to see that you're confident and you're masculine enough to go after what you want in life, not just with her. They want to be able to see that you're a man who is able to go after what he wants in life and is not afraid, and isn't a guy who's just passively waiting for things to happen for him. That's not attractive to women. So when it comes to her, you may be a yes or a maybe in her mind, but in almost all cases, she won't do anything about it. Right? She may look at you, or she may be a woman who wants to make sure that she gets a guy who's much more confident than her. So she may even avoid looking at you. But when you're not looking, she may look and she may be thinking yes or maybe. But that's as much as you're going to get, because she wants to get a guy who's going to be confident enough to start talking to her, and then when talking to her, confident enough to continue to believe in himself, even though she's not giving him obvious signs of interest. Right, so that's the playing field out there, and it's not going to change. Women aren't going to suddenly turn into men, and men are not going to stop feeling attracted to women in the ways that they've always felt attracted to women, where men look at a woman and they can instantly say yes, and if the woman opened up to it, they would happily have sex with her. And in many cases, for many guys, they'd even have a relationship with her. That's why guys will look at a woman and say, wife material, marriage material, girlfriend material. And they'll instantly have that absolute yes in their mind where they want to be with her. Or other guys will just say things like, I'd tap that, I'd hit that, I'd do that, I'd smash that, I'd split her in half. Right, they're immediately saying yes in their mind. But even though a woman can notice and see that she's getting that type of reaction from men, whether it's a group of men or it's a man by himself, the way that he's looking at her, in almost all cases, unless she's a hooker or something like that and is selling herself, in almost all cases, she's not going to come up to the guy and say, hey, I saw the way that you're looking at me and you obviously want to get down. So, yeah, how are you? I thought I'd come over and say hi. She's almost never going to do that. Instead, she's going to wait to see if a guy is actually confident enough to talk to her, is interested in her enough to talk to her, and shoot his shot. And as I said, it's like when you're wanting to get a job, right? You're not going to get any of the jobs that you don't apply for. And getting with a woman is not applying for a job, but essentially you're taking the risk to give yourself the chance to get the result. Right? And if you go out there and apply for 5 jobs, you may only get 1 or 2 of them, but that's better than 0. Yet just like getting a job, in almost all cases, jobs aren't going to come to you and offer themselves to you and say, here, come and work for us. That will happen sometimes if a guy is very valuable and he's being headhunted by another company. But in almost all cases, you have to put yourself forward. You have to take that chance, take that risk. And the same thing applies with women. In almost all cases, they're not going to come at you and say, hey, I want to be with you, unless a guy is famous or is rich and the woman happens to be a gold digger or something like that. In almost all cases, the woman will just continue on with her life unless you can actually have the confidence to interact with her, or you have the interest to interact with her and shoot your shot.